Hello, roller coaster gamers. It's been a while since I've done any review of a roller coaster or versus video, and today it's almost kind of like a review and a versus, but for this versus video, I'm doing the old Dragon Challenge roller coasters at Universal in Orlando, Florida. These were two B&M inverts that were basically intertwined with each other. They both were set right next to each other. And what they had completely different layouts, but they dueled. And well, at least they used to. Like I'll go into a bit of history in a minute, but so they were opened. They were one of the biggest roller coasters at Universal Florida, and they were a set of dueling inverts that had completely different layouts, but had some interactions with each other. And I'll go over those when I go through this, and where the trains on both sides would come close to each other. One of the sides was red, one of them was blue, and they used to be called before Universal put in the Harry Potter stuff into the park. That they were called Dueling Dragons, and each side was called Fire and Ice. But then when they took control of the area and put in Harry Potter theme, they changed the name from Dueling Dragons to Dragon Challenge and changed the names of the coasters to Fire. Fire, or the red side, was changed to Chinese Fireball, and Ice, the blue side, was changed to Hungarian Horntail. I'll probably most likely call them Fire and Ice in this because that's just easier to say than Chinese Fireball and Hungarian Horntail. So you'll probably hear me say that more when I'm talking about these two rides. But we're gonna get into this versus video right now. Starting with the sets, and by the way, they were removed last year in 2008. No, they were removed at the end of 2017 in July or something like that. I got to ride them before they were removed, so that's why I'm able to do this. So you got Chinese Fireball and Hungarian Horntail. They have the same height. They are both 125 feet. They both have the same length and duration. They're both 3,200 feet long, and have a ride time of 2 minutes and 25 seconds. What are different are the drop and the speed. Though they have the same height, one of them, the red side, the Chinese Fireball, has a slightly bigger drop, and it's because of the way they drop. They have the same ride time because they have fast and slow moments. So, but Chinese Fireball has a faster top speed at the bottom of that drop. It's 60 miles an hour compared to 55 miles per hour, and that's because it is a little bit bigger because its drop is 115 feet, and Ice, or Hungarian Horntail. I keep saying Hungarian, it's Hungarian, but it has a drop of 95 feet. So it's probably not that noticeable on the ride. You probably won't really care about that difference, but one of them is slightly faster. So for the stats, Chinese Fireball would probably win, only because it has only because I would say more for the speed than the drop. But both of them, I like both of their drops kind of fairly equally. I don't know. They're inverts, so they don't really have special drops. B&M inverts don't really have the craziest, most outstanding drops out there. So, yeah, so I guess Fire wins for stats just by a hair, but they're basically the same. So, now we got elements. Now, here we got on the Fire, or Chinese Fireball side, we got when you ascend the lift hill right alongside the blue side, so that's their first interactions. Right, they're just going up the lift hill. You get a bit of chit chat and see who try to fight over who's going to win, even though they stopped dueling them because people got hit in the face with stuff, and then they put in metal detectors so people couldn't have stuff on the rides. And then they still, even though they had installed metal detectors to keep from people having stuff that would fly at people's faces, they still didn't duel them, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so they split off. Fire takes a left turn, ice takes a right turn. Fire has goes through an Immelman, then it goes through an airtime. I'm gonna go through the layout. Like you'll see, I just listed some things, but you go through Immelman, you go over then you go over an airtime hill that passes over the blue side. There's a bit of interaction right there, and then you go to another Immelman, and it has this weird like spiral down that goes around. Like you go through the Immelman, and then you kind of go back around a little bit. It's kind of weird. And then you have this long straight section, and then you have the most famous part of the ride, which is where the two vertical loops interact with each other. That's on the fire and ice side, and then continuing on the fire side, you go into that corkscrew interaction with the other one, and then you go into another corkscrew, and then you hit the brakes. So they both have 5 inversions. So the inversions on fire are 2 loops. No, I'm not 2 loops. Are 2 Immelmans, a vertical loop, and 2 corkscrews. And then here on ice, we're going to act like we're on the coaster again. So you go right, you take a right turn, and the first thing you do is you go through this really weird helix thing. It's very weird for an inverted coaster. Usually they just go straight into an inversion. But no, this one goes into this like drawn out helix, and then it goes to inversion. The first inversion on it after that helix is a 0G roll that goes underneath that hill that goes over on fire. So, and then you're continuing on ice after that awesome interaction through the 0G roll. You take a slight turn and you go through a cobra roll, which is 2 inversions. So we've already gone through 3 inversions after that cobra roll. And then after that, you go through that vertical loop interaction with the red side, and then you do a turn, and then you go through its final inversion. The red side will go through another corkscrew afterwards, but because of that cobra on blue side, this will be the 5th and final inversion on it, which is that corkscrew that goes along with the fire side, and then ice goes through a couple turns and then hits the brakes. So in terms of layout, most people prefer the Chinese Fireball or Fire's layout because they think the elements are smoother. And I gotta be honest, I don't think there's much of a difference in smoothness. I don't think either of them are very rough. They weren't the smoothest coasters out there, but they weren't very rough either. They're they're probably about the same smoothness as like most inverted coasters I've ridden, like Raptor and Afterburn and stuff. They weren't really rough, but I think they're a lot of because they don't have as many. I feel like the inversions aren't as back to back to back. Even though both sides are interacting with each other, they have tons of close interactions. Is that because I didn't get to ride it when it was dueling, and I really wish I had. I don't even think I wouldn't have been tall enough to ride it when they were dueling. They stopped dueling before I was tall enough to ride B&M coasters. So, and the first time I went to Universal, it was just after the Harry Potter section opened, so I wouldn't, and then I wasn't even tall enough for B&M coasters, so I would have had no chance in riding these dueling. So, but I'm sure then it would be much more intense, but both of these are probably the least intense inverted coasters I've ridden. I rode both. I still prefer them over Batman the ride at Six Flags Over Georgia because they are smoother, but they're not as intense as it, and they're not as intense as Afterburn, not as intense as Raptor. I don't think they're as intense as the other inverted coasters I've ridden, even though there's tons of near misses. I think it's because it's because there's two sides, and you're expecting like some sort of cool interaction. Like you want, it's like without them dueling, you feel or racing each other, you feel like there's something taken away. So then you feel like it's not as good as it could be. Now both of these are still good rides, and most people prefer the red side, but I actually kind of prefer the blue side a little bit because people don't like the Cobra Roll on the blue side, and they think the blue side is rougher than the red side, and I think both of them are equal in smoothness, and I actually don't mind the Cobra Roll, and the reason I like the ice side more than Fireball is because I think it has more diverse inversions. Like Fire has two implements and two corkscrews. Ice has a bunch of like it has a Cobra Roll, it has a zero G roll, it has. I feel like there's uh like a better quality inversions. I think there's more like more each inversion. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Each inversion on ice is different. As a fire, it feels like it goes through the same type of inversions through the whole ride. So and especially that I really like that zero G roll under that airtime hill on fire, and I also like the loop interaction too. But that zero G roll is really cool. So I'm gonna get on to the end of this with the pictures, and I'm gonna point to some stuff. So here we have like an aerial, like bird's eye view of everything. There's the loop interaction, like you can see some of the layout and stuff. So like what it shows here is this. It doesn't show the turn of the red sides. It doesn't show that turn on the red side going on the drop, but it shows the blue side. I'll go through the red side first. So you would drop that way. You would go through an emblem, and then you go through an airtime hill, which goes right here, like this, and then you bank down. You go through that second implement, and this is that weird thing I was talking about. You go through this weird helix like this that goes around it, and then you come this way, and then you go through that loop. You go this way, and then you go through those corkscrews, and then the red side will go up like this, go through a straight stretch, and then it'll go through another corkscrew that just right here, and then it'll turn into the race. The blue side, it doesn't show its drop either. It would drop like somewhere over here, do a weird helix, and then it goes through this zero G roll right here under this airtime mill of the red side, and then the blue side turns this way, goes through this Cobra Roll, which you can kind of see the top of there, and then it goes through here, it goes through that loop interaction, goes over this big turn, and then it goes to that corkscrew, and then it does a few turns like this, and then it hits the brakes. So going through this is that interaction, and with the red side, here it is. I think this is better because it shows both of them, but here we have the zero G roll and the airtime hill of the red side interacting with each other. I think that's an awesome interaction. You can see the two vertical loops right here in this picture interacting with each other. Look, it feels like you're going to hit the other side, but I never got to experience that because, again, I did not get to ride it when they were still dueling. So here we have the red side going, or the fire side going over the. I call them red and blue, even though they have different. Even though they had their own names, I shouldn't say have because they've been torn down. They were torn down in 2017. But there's a picture of their trains right there. That's one of the corkscrews, I think. There's that one of those weird looking implements. There's a turn over the water. You got tons of interactions right here. Here's that Cobra Roll on blue side. It's same right there. There's just a random turn right there. So yeah. So both of them are fun. I actually liked both I actually like both of these more than most of the roller coasters at Universal. My least favorite, like out of the major ones, like Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, Dragon Challenge, the two sides of Dragon Challenge, and Incredible Hulk, which I think are arguably the four biggest ones at Universal Orlando back then. Now you have this family coaster that replaced Dragon Challenge that I haven't ridden that yet. But between these four, which are both sides of Dragon Challenge, Chinese Fireball, and Hungarian Horntail, and then you have Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket and Incredible Hulk. My least favorite one was Incredible Hulk because I didn't get to ride in the front row, so if it was in the front row, it could have been better. But I noticed a very distinct rattle. Towards the end of in the second half of the ride, I was banging my head around a little bit. So it was still fun, and I love the theming and the launch section of that one. But then like the ride, it was banging my head. I didn't expect that. So I don't know. And then my favorite roller coaster at Universal Orlando was actually Hollywood Drift Ride Rocket. Most people, coaster enthusiasts, say it's like, oh, it's a stupid hour ride or whatever. I think it's underrated for coaster enthusiasts. I mean, it's very well known. Like, I think it's more popular than it should be. It's not as it's like the general public seem to like praise Hollywood Red Rocket like when they go to Universal. It's like the icon of Universal Studios, but I don't think it's that serious of a ride. It's not one of my, it's not like in my top coasters, but I think it was better than coaster enthusiasts make it out to be. Like they say, it's a stupid ride. It's just kind of there. I actually thought there was some airtime. Like I know it has so many mid course brake runs, but like each time we popped up into one of those courses, I got some like ejector. And my favorite part of the ride is that non-inverted loop, because when you're going up to the top, you get these crazy laterals. You feel like you're gonna fly out the side. I swear, you're twisting it, then you just go whoa. You feel like you're gonna get flung out of the freaking thing. So I actually really like that element. And I placed Dragon Challenge both sides right in between them. I do prefer blue. Most people prefer red side, but in my opinion, I like the blue side a bit better than the red side because I think the elements are a bit more are a bit. I just like the elements. I think each element is different. The red side seems to each element seems the same to me. So because you have two elements and two corkscrews, and then you have the loop, right? So and then on Hungarian Horntail, you have a cobra roll, which is two inversions. Then you have a zero G roll, you have a corkscrew, and you have a loop. It seems like it's more different. I think so. I like both of them, but I still think I prefer ice over fire. So let me know what y'all guys think of Dragon Challenge if you've ridden it. If you rode it before it was closed for good back in 2017. If you haven't ridden it, what's like, just let me know that stuff. So I'll see you next time, Roller Coaster Gamers. Bye.